Thank you very much, Gianluca. Thank you. It's my turn now. A warm welcome to everybody. It's fantastic to be in a room with so many like-minded people and VES members. It's really great to meet some of you, and I'm personally looking forward to having a beer with you afterwards. Here's a quick video introducing Visualskies. Some fantastic work there, and all of those shots contain some form of 3D scanned element, which we're immensely proud of. And to give you a bit of background into Visualskies, the idea for Visualskies was conceived first in our favourite place, which was the pub. Me and Ross would meet after work. I used to work as a visual effects artist working for a company called Time Slice Films. We developed bullet time and camera technology. And whilst working at Visualskies in the evening, at Time Slice, not Visualskies, in the evenings I would build my own drones. I would test fly them in the morning and try to find applications for drones in the visual effects industry. And me and myself and Ross would meet in the evenings, over a pint, discuss the applications for drone technology in the visual effects industry and architecture industries, Ross being an architect. And then we first took the leap to start Visualskies in 2015. It was founded by myself and Ross. And when we first started, it was one drone license, 2 people. We would go out, do jobs, and try and make incredible things from drone technology. In 2016, we started to make an impact, and we started doing many productions, working on many shows, providing aerial data with drones. And then we took the leap into getting our first studio in 2017, and that was at Pinewood Studios. Brings us on to some more contemporary times. First of all, we just made an impact. We just started going, and of course we suffered from COVID. We had was set to be our best year yet, scanning I think 16 countries all over the world, and one by one they all cancelled on us like everything else. But we didn't stop. We reinvested all of our previous work into creating cyber scans, which is essentially scanning digital humans with camera technology. From then, we expanded to Berlin, and we have a studio in Berlin now. And what's interesting is actually from the moment we started in 2016, 2015, is we were scanning 1 or 2 things on a film production. And recently, that has multiplied by thousands. Recently, we've been scanning thousands and thousands of things on our productions, which is a really interesting metric to us and shows sort of how useful this data can be. And here we are in 2024. I'm really excited to see what 2024 has to offer. And yeah, it's amazing to see what Visualskies has become today. Our mission is essentially to provide useful 3D data captured from reality. So whether that's props, sets, objects, locations, we look to capture it in as best format possible to enhance the visual experience. What sets us apart? Well, we like to offer cutting-edge solutions that meet our clients' requirements. So whether that's scanning landscapes like you see here, or small props and rings, everything down to a penny, we will scan it in the correct format to offer the best data. Our data is not only useful in VFX, which I'll go on to talk about a little bit in a moment, but it's also useful in a vast array of applications. And something I'm very proud of is where we've been. We've been all over the world scanning for multiple productions, multiple reasons, all over the world. We've suffered altitude sickness, malaria. We've carried our equipment up 4,000 meters altitude. We've been tear gassed. We've you wouldn't believe the scenarios we've got ourselves into, all in the name of just capturing data. But that's all thanks to the amazing team that we have. We're incredibly proud of our team and our diverse backgrounds in various fields. We have everyone from archaeologists, architecture, visual effects, digital art, CGI, graphics, just to name a few. And it's that diverse background, I believe, that gives us the edge in offering a solution that meets our clients' requirements. Versatility. So our data, as I've just touched on, isn't just useful in visual effects. It's also useful across a range of industries. This example was for Vogue China. We scanned multiple models, which ended up on the front cover of Vogue China, obviously for other reasons other than visual effects in this example. Archaeology. We work with universities all over the world, mapping locations for hydrology models for AI, making discoveries that have never been discovered before in ancient locations all over the world. Heritage is one of my personal favorites, and in this example, what we're showing here is exactly the same format that we provide for visual effects, but used in a different way. We scanned various sections of the Houses of Parliament for the reconstruction project, not the reconstruction project, conservation project, which saved the taxpayer millions. In a single day, we were able to scan this pinnacle works of the Houses of Parliament inside and out to a fidelity which avoided rigging scaffolding, which obviously was great. Festival planning. So we've had the lucky opportunity to attend some festivals where we've used our drones to map the landscape to enhance the festival planning of the future. And in this example, we were the only drone company or company allowed to fly drones at the festival other than the police. We had complete free-for-all, I guess. We were allowed to go anywhere we wanted to, and we had safety scenarios in place which allowed us to do that. Gaming, of course, our data is applicable to gaming with Unreal Engine 5 and all of the gaming applications. In this example, we were the first company to start scanning the female footballers for FIFA 2023. Leads me on to what else are we doing with our data? What else can we do? Well, our data is applicable to many, many scenarios, and we've created products that elevate what you can do with 3D scans. VS Scout is powered by 3D scans and was first used on the House of the Dragon. Shout out to Tom Wingrove. It's a scouting tool that allows you to set up cameras anywhere in the world. Recently, we've imported Google Earth into our app, and anybody will be able to access that in the coming months. It will be on the App Store. VoluStore helps us manage the vast library of assets that we've captured over our years, and it's a production-to-production tool which enables productions to use assets and visualize assets that we're capturing. VSFX is our new wing of Visualskies, which is powered by our volumetric data. And if you want to hear more about that, you can talk to the drunk Scotsman in the background. But that's me done for today, and I'm going to hand over to the LiDAR King, aka Duncan Lees.
I'm not very good with microphones, so I'm going to talk normally. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, good.
All right. That's a better idea.
There's fewer people than I thought there was going to be. Anyway, I've not been in a room like this since I did a eulogy at a funeral, actually, just recently. So this is the same sort of numbers as in the funeral that I was in. It's a similar atmosphere, actually. I can see some of you are tearing up already with the emotion. Joe set a very high benchmark here with his talk. It was, he during the tests, he was rubbish, and I think he did it on purpose so that we would all think he was going to screw it up. Give a fantastic talk. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name's Duncan Lees. I have been, as all of us actually have been, even before the genesis of Visualskies, we've all been working within loosely the visual effects industry, film and television in all of its myriad facets for a number of years, and we all kind of, with Joe and Ross taking the plunge and most of the risk in setting up Visualskies, and we all then collated, worked together, and have set up the organisation as you know it now. But I think it's important to say that we didn't start working within visual effects at the genesis of Visualskies. We'd all been doing it a long time. In my case, 25 odd years. Mara was going to be here tonight, Mara Ryan. I believe she's ill. We hope she gets better soon. But Mara and I worked together on one of the very early bonds, so we've been doing this quite a long time. I wanted to just show you this. At the weekend, I had this brilliant idea that I would come and scan the outside of the hotel that you're all coming to, and create a LiDAR version of it. And we'd do some fancy graphics and everything else. So I thought, nice quiet Sunday in Soho would be fine. And I managed to pick the day when Britain's Got Talent was filming. So there was like 2,000 people waiting for an answer deck. It was amazing. And they arrived, people screaming, and it was all in front of the hotel. So I think it's actually a testament to the quality of the work that we do, that you can actually see the hotel and not thousands of screaming kids. Our role on Napoleon. So we have Charlie Henley to thank. Charlie Henley we've worked with on a number of productions before. And Charlie asked us to be involved at a very early stage and gave us the full range of data capture requirements. Basically, we were asked to scan anything and everything on the production. This meant that a team of people moved around the different locations. Mr. Ridley doesn't like to doesn't like to work too far outside the M25. He likes to go home every night. Some of these just near the M25 locations proved to be several hours outside of London. I don't know how he gets around, but anyway, so our equipment was having to be set up, we were using it and then breaking it down and going to other locations on a day-by-day basis. Some of the bigger locations we were there for a while, but some of the smaller locations we had to set up, scan, and then leave the very next night. As you can see with the cyber scanning rig that we have outside, sometimes that's quite a big ask. It's this versatility and portability and adaptability that makes Visualskies the team that we are. I'm not going to read you the slides. I won't embarrass myself or you by going through what's on the text, but we basically scan the shit out of everything. I think that's a technical term. So what Visualskies do very well, Joe alluded to the fact that we started as an aerial company, Joe and Ross flying drones, never crashing them, collecting information from the air. what I brought to the team was connections and the necessity to collect data on the ground. And it's that integration of aerial and terrestrial data capture that makes us who we are. We combine both off-the-shelf technology, so drones. We don't these days make our own drones. We buy high-end drones from DJI, but we do design and build camera rigs and the payload attached to the drones. And we use a number of different payloads, even things that you wouldn't necessarily think had a visual effects element to them, things like multispectral imaging, things like thermal imaging. It all allows us to build three-dimensional spatial data in a way that perhaps other people can't. So we have a full suite of drones. We film plates as well. We're not revered. We're not the helicopter girls, but we do collect plates for both for visual effects and in the shows themselves. Some of Joe's plates, Joe was very happy actually. Most of the advert for House of the Dragon was plates that he'd shot over
one shot.
One shot. Okay. Most of the shots. He's very honest. Not allowing me to big him up, but we can film plates cinematically. But our main bulk of work is using heavy lift drones with a variety of payloads to collect spatial data. So that's aerial photogrammetry, an aerial LiDAR that allows us to capture huge landscapes in very high detail. I think the slide shows, again, I'm not going to patronise you, but the slide shows clearly the benefits of collecting data from the air as well as on the ground. On the right, you have actually Smithfield Market, which is close to my heart, being redeveloped as the new Museum of London, where I worked for 25 years. And that's a combination of terrestrial and aerial LiDAR photogrammetry and everything else. And you can see that the whole roofscape, which was actually too dangerous to walk on, has been captured. Whereas on the left, the fantastic processing done by Jandir at the back there of, it's called Stalin's Needle. It's the building in Warsaw that holds love and hate because it's a communist era building, but was used in a PlayStation advert where we filmed, where we were with a film crew, and this is captured terrestrial data, terrestrial LiDAR, terrestrial photogrammetry, and you can see that chunks of it are missing, the roofs are missing. It's stating the bleeding obvious, but it's an important don't worry. It's an important point, I think. So coupled with our aerial capture, the backbone of what we do on every project, and this I think makes us very different to other companies who do similar things to us. We collect very high resolution terrestrial photogrammetry as a routine. Even if you ask us to go and do a LiDAR scan of somewhere, we will always take photogrammetric data as well. This not only allows you to change your mind further down the line, and who's ever heard of visual effects people changing their mind, but it allows us to use the best information from terrestrial photogrammetry and the best information from LiDAR to create the best geometry. The photogrammetry does actually build a lot of the geometry as well as the LiDAR, so it's an important part of what we do, and we've got experts who've been doing this for years and are able to assess a location and assess the position of the photography that needs to be done, the quantity of photos that need to be done, and all of those other considerations that are routine to us. We also, on Napoleon, undertook, as just alluded to and we showed on the slide, thousands of objects, thousands and thousands of objects. That ranged from maquettes right through to hundreds of swords, weapons, guns, everything else. I'm hoping no one from production's here, but we did get asked to do a very confusing job, which was they asked us to LiDAR scan 80 battle flags for Napoleon, which is the strangest concept that we've ever heard of. A piece of flat material with a picture on is not something you want to be LiDAR scanning. There's no point in meshing it. So, and then, as my nickname seems to suggest, LiDAR capture, I've been doing this for years and years and years, too many years. What we do at Visualskies and what we did on Napoleon was combine the speed of short-range data capture, short-range laser scanners like this one, that have a range up to like 120 meters, with some of the longer-range equipment. So for the Dolomites, where Joe and my son Walter went scanning, we were having to capture huge landscapes so that the Battle of Austerlitz could be sort of a Frankenstein's monster composited from various locations around the world and various sets. So this, again, the experience we have in how to, which scanner to use, what data to collect, how to collect it. You can use the scanner to collect image data, RGB data as well, and this enables us to smooth our pipeline for the post-production side of things, something that Lydia will touch on is the ability to integrate both the texture information from photogrammetry with LiDAR data, and that's best done through textured LiDAR data. This was me with slightly more hair, but this is 25 years ago on the left, and this is the first ever to-market LiDAR scanner that was ever made in the world. It's called a Cyrax. Leica then bought this company. It was developed by a Marsh Arab guy called Ben Kassira, genius, but those scanners took more than Napoleon's armies to carry around. They were like hundreds of kilos. Airline staff would refuse to put them on planes because they were too heavy, all this kind of stuff. So it really was kind of a Neanderthal existence. These days, I get the chance to walk around on my own with all the equipment and no one helping. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably better for the people who used to have to work with me. And as I've touched on, and as Lydia will tell you much more in detail and much more intelligently than I am able to do so, we integrate our solutions. We don't just collect information from the air, we don't just collect data from the ground, and we don't just use one sort of technology. On the Napoleon, we would combine, we had to have, it upset some of them on Napoleon because we had to have two vans because there was so much equipment. We were told to try and stick it all in one van, but that meant we were turning up at every location with a full range of laser scanners, cyber scanning equipment, mobile props scanning, basically a mobile studio, and two drones, because you always have to have a backup drone at least. So we were taking huge amounts of equipment, and what we've done at Visualskies and what we did during COVID was develop a workflow that used the best of all of those types of technology. So we were able to adapt to any conditions at all, and any object or any location that we were asked to scan by the integrated solutions. Lydia will talk more about top right HMS Victory, which was the starting point for a lot of the ships that you see in Napoleon. Ross was sent on his own. No one likes working with Ross, he always goes on his own. Ross went on his own down to Portsmouth and used terrestrial and aerial photogrammetry and laser scanning and captured the whole of the exterior and a substantial part of the interior of HMS Victory in a day. And that's money, that's value for money, I think. When people quibble about price, it grinds my gears, so I'm still going to say something else, but we collect a lot of information in a very short space of time. One of the things that comes from our experience is the ability to, and our wide-ranging toolbox is the ability to adapt to any conditions, whether it's raining, snowing, blowing a gale, sunshine, everything else. Lydia again will touch upon the way that we process images so that we're taking out sunshine, those sort of things, and creating the flat-lit data set. So it's our experience and our huge toolbox, I was going to say, which sounds really dreadful, that allows us to cope with any conditions that we're faced with. So from frozen lakes through to Icelandic landscapes and kind of everything in between. As Joe touched on a bit earlier, the Houses of Parliament job was actually the kind of the benchmark for how crazy we can be and how able Joe is as a pilot, because he was flying a heavy lift drone inside the Houses of Parliament, inside the towers of the Houses of Parliament. Perfect opportunity to have wiped out some of our favourite politicians. However, he did the job and we collected amazing data. And this is the sort of thing that allows productions to be comfortable, that we know what we're doing and how we're doing it. We have licenses for our drone pilots that are above and beyond normal licenses. We can fly closer to people who aren't under the control of the marshals. We can fly at altitudes and in areas where other people cannot fly. So again, this is very important with the work that we do. And finally, I'm going to shut up soon, Lydia's going to talk much better than me, but we also took with us, and one of the things that we had to do thousands of times, literally thousands of times, was collect cyber data, collect three-dimensional digidouble data for the production of huge landscapes full of soldiers. When we were there filming, Battle of Waterloo's on this massive landscape the size of the Battle of Waterloo. There's 200 sporting actors, I'm sure you're all aware, but basically there's a cut-off point where it actually takes too long and costs too much money to get actors in uniforms to fight a battle scene. Gone are the days. In the Rodsteiger Waterloo, they had like 17,000 Yugoslavian soldiers fighting each other on camera. For this one, we had 250, 300 people. It looked like a shit football game, basically. When you looked at it from a wide angle, there was hardly anyone on the fields. All of those amazing battle scenes that you see in the film, I'm sure you've all seen it, are based on huge numbers of digidoubles from the people that we scanned. One story, I have to embarrass Will slightly, who's probably with the rig in the distance. We also scanned the main cast for Napoleon, except for back in Phoenix, who refused. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. He's fairly astute about his intellectual property. However, we scanned Vanessa Kirby, and Will's a big fan of Vanessa Kirby. So we were scanning all of the main cast at the Royal Naval College in Greenwich, and it had been a hell of a long day. Will's always in charge of the setting up of the rig, making sure everything works right. He'd been there like 14 hours. It was late at night. No one's going to come and get scanned now, so he left. About 10 minutes after he left, Vanessa Kirby came in to be scanned. Will found out next morning when he opened up the computer and his paramour was there on the screen, and he went nuts that he'd been shoved out of the building when the person he most wanted to meet had arrived to be scanned. Breaking everything. So just as a final slide from me before Lydia talks, the system, as she'll talk through it, is portable, adaptable, can be set up for high detail heads, can be set up for fact scanning, facial actual coding systems, can be full body systems, was frequently set up, used and taken down all in a day and moved to another location to be ready next morning. Some of these were substantial distances apart within Oxfordshire and Sussex. So what I wanted to convey to you is there are systems that are very good. Our system is very portable and also very good. It's the capture speed very good. The data quality, as you'll see in a minute, is amazing. And this has enabled us to sort of complete the book of services that we offer. We can basically capture anything anyone asks us to do at whatever level of detail or whatever finesse they require. And so with that, I shall hand you over to Lydia, who's going to talk you through the processing side of the data capture that we do. Thank you.
My name is Lydia Fause, and my background is in 3D computer graphics. I joined Visualskies at an early stage. I was inspired by a National Geographic TV show called Lost Cities that Joe and Duncan are a substantial part of. I saw them on screen operating laser scanners and flying drones in the middle of the jungle in South America for archaeological research. And today I am part of the capturing and processing team at Visualskies. I think our team here got the unique opportunity to be involved both on location and in the office processing the data. So from the experience we gained from processing the data and together with our knowledge about spatial data, this really helps us in the field to know how to capture an environment in an efficient way and achieve high quality results at the same time. This is what we call a hybrid workflow. These are some examples in Visualskies has scanned for Napoleon and for other productions. An environment like this castle was captured by 2 to 3 people of our team within a single day. This environment in Jordan got a scan area of 2 to 4 kilometers and was captured by 3 people within 4 days. For Napoleon, 3 of our scan types were represented, which are environment, object, and cyber scans. Over the course of a couple of months, we collected hundreds of terabytes of raw data and processed it into high-resolution textured visual effects assets. So this example you can see here is one of the many environments we scanned for this film. It's a historical site in Malta where also some of the filming for the siege of Toulon took place. To scan such a large and detailed environment, this was only achievable with careful planning the use of long-range LiDAR scanners, and drones. We're using the same sensors in the air and from the ground, and to capture this environment, we took about 80 LiDAR positions. So once we're back in the office, one of the first steps from the processing side of things is the LiDAR registration. So for each of these scan positions, we got a point cloud. And all of these 80 point clouds need to fit together in millimeter accuracy. Once this step is done, the data gets exported as a point cloud with a locked relationship. While we're doing the LiDAR registration, we are also starting to process the images. For this, we got a Houdini pipeline, which automatically can process thousands of images at the same time. And this is especially important for the large environments. So in this example for this historical site in Malta, we captured about 6,000 images, both from the air and from the ground. For the even bigger area in Jordan, you've seen previously on one of the other slides, we captured about 25,000 images. The Houdini pipeline also includes color correction and delighting for flat color maps. And once we've done the LiDAR registration and the image processing, these data sets get combined in the alignment. The result of the alignment is a point cloud, and it really builds the base for all of the other steps that come afterwards in the processing. Every environment is different, so we combine established capturing methods such as grid patterns and 45-degree passes together with more of an organic approach in the capture, especially if some environments got more details in one area, we'll collect more images in this area to achieve an overall higher quality result. Also, the lighting conditions are quite important for the alignment. The delighting really helps if an environment was captured over several days due to access restrictions, but ideally we're always aiming to capture an environment in a single day with an overcast day. From the alignment point cloud, the mesh is being reconstructed. The source mesh for this environment had 2 billion polygons, which were then decimated down to 12 million for the final delivery. And one of the last steps in the processing for raw scan environments is the texturing, where we're using the high-resolution photography to apply color maps. For some environments, we're also using a divider script, which splits an environment into different tiles, and so we can achieve higher geometry and texture resolution per tile. So as you can see in this photo, our scans are used to create the final shot. In the background, you can see the environment we've seen previously, and you also can see an object scan we've done, which is the ship. We really think that the object scans and the environment scans contribute to the realistic look of invisible effects, such as this shot Blue Bolt VFX have done. One of the larger object scans we've done is HMS Victory. We captured hundreds of assets for Napoleon. Some of them are smaller and medium-sized props, but also the bigger ones where we applied a similar workflow as for the environments, which is a combination of LiDAR and photogrammetry. Our goal here really was to provide the visual effects department with an easy-to-use, high-resolution visual effects asset. The LiDAR gives sharp edges and, of course, the scale. And the photogrammetry adds to the geometry, the overall coverage of the scan, and the texture resolution. These are some examples of prop scans we've done for the film.
So I have the honour of going last. My name is Ross Dammer. I'm a co-founder of Visualskies along with Joseph. And I've been given the exciting task of looking into the crystal ball of the future. What's the future for visual effects? And what's the future for 3D scanning? Is there a future for 3D scanning? And so obviously, as the guys have touched on previously, there's this narrative of invisible VFX going around at the moment. And in fact, no visual effects, as we're all led to believe in the mainstream media. The studios are obviously pushing this idea that there are no visual effects in any of the films, which all of you guys are helping to make. So I'm not sure what you're doing here, but we can tell obviously from the huge number of people at the end of the credits that obviously there are a huge amount of people involved in visual effects. We think that it's actually testament to the fact that your normal viewer in the cinema can't tell that there are any visual effects. It's indiscernible from reality, and so actually it's a massive testament that the studios are able to sing this narrative. Now, obviously, we've been going for almost about 10 years now, and so I've had the privilege of being on many hundreds of film and TV sets, and as the guys mentioned earlier, we've had the privilege of going all over the world. And for me personally, I think the best results are really when practical have a fantastic synergy with digital, and really the nexus for that is digitization, and digitization for us is the arc between the real world, the set designers, the prop makers, and all the fantastic people that get everything there so we can turn up and shoot our lasers and make it happen, as we say. So it's really the digitization is the arc between the fantastic artwork on set and the amazing digital stuff that all of you guys in the room here do. So I think that actually there's a huge amount of work for visual effects artists and 3D digitizers in the future, because there is that need for to have visual effects that people can't see. There's that expectation now. So I think there's a huge amount of work left for us to do. So obviously, the viewer believes that it's real, but obviously we know that we can't murder 10,000 supporting actors. So there's a huge amount of stuff left for us to do. One obvious area that we, as 3D digitizers and as visual effects artists, can contribute to is obviously this thing called virtual production that everyone is talking about now. We've been lucky enough to work on a couple of different virtual production films. And I think, barely a day goes by now that you don't hear of a new virtual production studio springing up somewhere. Every day my inbox seems to be full of a new virtual production studio, even bigger than the last one. But the thing that we've sort of been noticing as we've been moving down the line with virtual production is that the quality of the backgrounds doesn't seem to be up to the quality of the technology. The technology is moving fast, moving forward very quickly, and actually the stuff that's going on the screens, in essence, the thing that it's meant to be doing isn't really there. And so for us as 3D digitizers, and for you guys as visual effects artists and people connected to the visual effects industry, there's a huge scope for us to become the people who empower virtual production and help us to evangelize the visual effects in film production. I think obviously there's a move towards in-camera visual effects, which is going to be a huge part for all of us to play in the future. Obviously, we all know the term "fix it in post," which we all know and love. But I think we'll start to move to a sort of create without post area. Of course, this presentation wouldn't be complete without mentioning the dreaded AI. You know, I sort of stopped looking at LinkedIn now because the advancement in technology is quite scary. And when I'm on set, people are often asking me these days whether AI is going to kill, you know, all of our jobs. I mean, I think the truth is in the long term, who knows? But in the short term, we foresee many, many benefits to machine learning. This image here is a Gaussian splat, which is one area we're particularly interested in. Anyone who knows anything about photogrammetry would know that this particular thing would look like absolute dog poo if you tried to do it photogrammetrically, or mushy, as we like to call it in the office. And so we think with things like nerves and Gaussian splats, we'll actually be able to work closer with the the camera department, and in particular DOPs, to have baked-in lighting, 4D baked-in lighting that is obviously then useful for virtual production. And as we sort of move away from post-production and enabling ourselves to do more of the stuff during the actual production of the film. The good thing about this sort of data is it's very lightweight. The guys mentioned earlier how heavy the data is that we're often delivering, and that can be quite prohibitive. I think quite a few people are sort of put off by the quantity and the size of data, and in some instances it just doesn't get used because it is so heavy. But with this new AI-driven 3D scanning methodologies, the data is much lighter, so I think that can only be a positive thing. Of course, training data as well. There's a lot of when you worked in 3D digitizing for as long as we have, you end up having a huge back catalogue of data, essentially, that can be used to train new machine learning algorithms. And these are the sort of tools that maybe we'll be able to retire our Chromebooks with one day. So I'm getting to the end now. I know everyone wants to get to their beers, so I won't go on too much longer. This is the last slide, and really it's just to mention what is the future, what's the vision for Visualskies. Well, really what we want to do is, and I'm just circling back to what Joe started off with here, is continue to employ a diverse range of people who can bring fresh, new, and diverse ideas from a different range of backgrounds to the future of digitizing, helping us to create products for our clients and the likes of you guys that will help make your jobs easier, and help you to create awe-inspiring content. So that really is the end now. We've just got to say thanks to Charlie Henley, who got us in for Napoleon, Sarah Tullock and Richard Bain. And of course, thank you to VES for having us here. Feel free to come talk to us individually at the end if you want to talk to us about any of the equipment. We've obviously got the head scanning rig at the back. If you like your head scan, we can send you a digital version of your head. I'll open it up to any questions if you want to ask any here.